Good evening, everybody. We may just wait one more minute for any potential later starters, and then we'll start kicking it off. Okay, so I guess it's 1 minute past the hour. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time here. Everybody's busy during this really awkward time here in Hong Kong, but really great that you can make the time to join us this evening. And I'm really pleased to introduce a great panel that will be sharing the interesting new approach as an integrated compliance solution. So my name's Brian Tang. I was a former co-chair of the RegTech committee, and now I've been kicked upstairs. I'm sitting on the board now. So I'm fairly familiar with RegTech matters here in Hong Kong. And I see very many familiar faces who are also very active in the space and promoting adoption here in Hong Kong. I'm really pleased to introduce our panelists here today. First and foremost, Henry Lau, who's the HSG FinTech Global Limited Channel Development Executive, and he's going to be leading the discussion this evening. And that'll be followed by Michael Chan, who is the One Asia Network Limited Executive Director. And last but not least, we have Andy Lam, who's the Alpatian Chief Operation Officer. I think from our pre-discussions, the three of them have bring different strengths together and are proposing a kind of integrated solution that I think many of our FinTech Association members will find interesting, especially in light of the regulatory concerns and addressing some of the pain points that the industry has. Without further ado, over to you, Henry. Thank you.
Okay, give me a second to share screen. Okay, so can everyone see my screen?
Yep, it looks great. Thanks, Henry.
Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us at this time of the hour, and welcome to tonight's webinar hosted by the Hong Kong FinTech Association. My name is Henry Lau, as Brian has just introduced. I'm a business development executive from HSG FinTech Global, or I will call it as HSG here on. Tonight, in conjunction with Michael Chan, who's the Executive Director of One Asia, and Andy Lam, who's the COO of Alpatian, we are going to jointly introduce a unique 3-in-1 solution, which are targeted for banks and financial institutes. We try to call it an integrated compliance solution, which is tonight's main theme, and you will see why we call that later on. Okay, so in this chart, okay, I try to explain, what do we mean by an integrated compliance solution? It is basically the idea of a 3-in-1 solution construct aiming to meet modern banking, financial services, and regulatory compliance requirements. Okay, so obviously the solution comes from 3 parts. Banking and financial services applications will be from HSG FinTech Global, HSG, okay? In our solution, in our products, we do have the FinTech and the RegTech elements, okay, to enable digital transformation and virtual operations for these banks and FSIs. Okay, so we need some place to run the application, obviously. So secondly, we have a secure and certified infrastructure platform that will be coming from One Asia, okay, to host and run the applications regardless whether it's on-prem or cloud. And it will also come with a 7x24 SOC monitoring services to make sure that any security events or security incidents are being carefully handled. And last but not least, we add in a consulting component. Okay, we will also provide in this three-in-one solution, we will also provide pre-production review assessment services on the solution by a security expert company called FTAHK, which is one of us in the consortium. They will oversee the application and the hosting infrastructure environment to ensure that all anticipated regulatory or security requirements are basically complied with before even going to production. The next services is that FTAHK can also or will also provide tier 2 and tier 3 support and consultation services during SOC operations when the solution is live run. Okay, so whenever security incident or solution event came up, okay, coming to a tier 2 or tier 3 stage, the security expert from FTAHK will step in and provide a contribution to resolving the issue. Okay, so this three-in-one solution is basically empowered by the agreed partnership, okay, between the three companies, Hysan, One Asia, and FTAHK, each being a devoted specialist at their own arena. Okay, so at this point, let's go into introduction or brief introduction for each of the composite companies, starting with Hysan FinTech Global. So in this chart, I just want to give an overview of the Hysan Group. Okay, our parent company is originated from China, Hysan Technology. Okay, they have been focusing on the development and deployment of cutting-edge banking solutions for some 24, 25 years now. Okay, from China, and most of the tier 1 banks, okay, are actually their customer, as well as doing their overseas branches roll out with great success. Okay, Hysan Technology today is actually listed in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, stock number 0818. In the middle, okay, that's where I want to focus. You will see HSG, that's us, okay, Hysan FinTech Global. We were only established in Hong Kong in March 2020. Okay, the main purpose of the establishment is to set up a base here to focus on overseas business expansion of Hysan Technology, and which I will tell you some of our success story and achievement in the next chart. On the left, you will see some of our subsidiaries which are focusing on payment processing and payment platforms in China, Hysan Pay and Webuild. Okay, they are actually ranked one of the top 5 payment platforms in China, serving over 3 million merchants and handling a transaction volume of more than 1,000 billion RMB each year. On the right-hand side, you will see we have some PAHK subsidiaries, which are specializing on POS terminal and smart power meter solutions, which is actually doing quite well and very popular internationally in the US and in Europe. Now, talking about achievements, okay, that's what I want to show you in this chart, okay. As our focus is overseas, so I will leave what we have done in China aside. Okay, I will talk about Hong Kong, Macau, and Southeast Asia. These are all being captured under the Hysan FinTech Global company. Okay, in Hong Kong, we have captured actually 4 of the 8 virtual banks being granted a license a couple of years ago. Okay, we SET Bank and Airstart Bank actually is deploying 100% end-to-end our Hysan virtual banking platform. Okay, Fusion Bank and Ping An One Connect Bank. Okay, they are using part of our solutions like a fast payment service and general reporting for reporting generation to fit the MA requirements. That's all. Okay, so in Hong Kong we are actually doing pretty well. In Macau, we are also providing solution services to 2 of the largest banks there, BNU and Typhoon. In Southeast Asia, we are doing very good in developing countries like Cambodia and Laos. Okay, in Cambodia, we did a legacy system migration for the APD Bank, and a digital transformation project for the Oriental Bank, which just go live on the 22nd of February when they have the soft opening. In Laos, we also did a migration project for one of the largest banks there, BCEL, that is involved in the migration from the legacy Oracle system to Hysan core banking solutions. So as you can see from this chart, although we are only having 2-3 years of history, we are actually doing not bad, and we hope to keep that momentum further. Now, so what do we provide? Okay, when I say the Hysan part is going to provide the core banking or financial service solution in this consortium with FinTech or RegTech flavor. What do I mean by that? Okay, then you can see in this chart, basically from a business application view, our offering comes in 5 pillars. On the leftmost, the core banking pillar, okay, it consists of a set of those functional modules that are basically and commonly required for traditional banking operations: branch teller, customer information, interbank remittance, trade finance, blah blah blah. Okay, so the basic stuff obviously we have got. In the e-banking pillar, you will see a lot of those what I refer to as FinTech favors, like personal and corporate internet banking, mobile banking solutions. All these modules are often acquired by the bank and the financial services to accelerate their digital transformation. So this is this focal pillar on FinTech kind of products and solutions. The customer 360 pillar will have something to do with AI and RegTech. Okay, we are utilizing or leveraging a lot of AI and RegTech technologies there to support customer profiling, customer scoring, or onboarding functions. We have modules like AML, EKYC, fraud detection, more or less to help the banks to be able to remote onboarding potential customers at ease. And then obviously we have the payment and loans pillar, okay, which is one critical business trend of the banks or the financial services companies. We provide payment modules that support common mainstream payment channels based on global standard, including RTGS, SWIFT, FPS, etc. And we also have a e-wallet module for cashless payment segment and others. Okay. With respect to loans module, okay, we have a more traditional loans origination system, okay, which will provide all the workflows and the processes to loan processing. And we also have e-lending modules, which are more for the microfinance business today. All these modules will run on the banking engine, a banking engine of ours, which is on the rightmost. All essential tools that are needed to support the overall product development cycle, effective real-time back-end activities, resource usage, system uptime, and all that will be kind of run and managed by this banking engine. We also provide APIs to improve ecosystem penetration to support seamless integration with most of the third-party connections. As you can see in this chart, okay, we offer a full range of products offering to banks and financial service companies. We also provide the flexibility to cherry pick any required modules instead of having to buy the full stack. So this is the overview on Hysan product suite. On this chart, I won't take a lot of time. Okay, this is just another view on Hysan product suite or on Hysan applications, but more from architecture landscape kind of view. On the left, you will see all the integration channels that are available, service channels or third-party channels. On the right, you will see all those integration, data integration channels, okay, for data feed, for AI, and for that kind of integration. In the middle, obviously, we have the customer-centric management modules, which is the CRM stuff, the customer portion. And then we have product and services that you can create and provide to customer or offer to customer. And all these are being managed by a business platform where you can set all the parameters and the thresholds here. And at the back end, obviously, there's a general ledger for back office accounting. So this is another view of our business products, but more from a system architecture landscape view. Okay, we have only been in the market for 2-3 years. Okay, as you see, we are shipping quite a lot of clientele, and we are also heavily or participating in a lot of the forums and awards. As you can see in this chart, I just want to say that in 2021, we'll put in some effort on promoting our products, and we actually won the Banking Tech of the Year award from the Asia FinTech Awards. So this is a kind of recognition of our achievement over the past 2-3 years. Okay, so that's all for me. Okay, I will now pass on the control to One Asia Michael, which is going to talk about these secure certified infrastructure to run our applications.
Thank you, Henry.
Let me stop sharing first. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Control
my
to you.
turn. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, just a minute. And now should be a full screen, right?
Oh, good.
Okay, good. So thanks again, Henry, for your presentation, and good evening to all friends from the webinar. This is Michael Chan from One Asia Network Limited. Our position is to provide a security operations center to complete the integrated compliance solutions. However, before talking about how One Asia could fit for the position being one of the major components of the integrated compliance solution, I would like to reiterate the importance of a security operations center. That's what we call SOC or SOC generally. Okay. A security operations center is a centralized function within an organization, employing people, processing, and technology to continuously monitor and improve an organization's security posture while preventing, detecting, analyzing, and responding to cybersecurity incidents. A SOC acts like the hub or central command center, taking in telemetry from across an organization's IT infrastructures, including its networks, devices, appliances, and information stores wherever those assets reside. The proliferation of advanced threats places a premium on collecting context from the diverse sources. Essentially, the SOC is the correlation point for every event logged within the organization that is being monitored. For each of these events, the SOC must decide how they will be managed and acted upon. So, my friends, now you all should be very clear. There are two compulsory elements that we demand a security operations center to acquire. Okay, first of all, a physical place where the SOC located at, whether it's physically and logically secure enough to protect everything, IT devices and or any cloud platform hosted inside the center, whether any chance that service would be interrupted by any kind of E&M accidents, for example, electricity power suspension, or flooding under typhoon season, something like that. So most of the time, a professional SOC should be hosted in a professional data center grade premises. Secondly, we do need a comprehensive SOC procedure, which is operating by a team of expertise who are providing 7/24 non-stop monitoring and supporting services to well cover the following 10 key functions performed by a SOC. So all friends, you can see there's a 10 rules that we need to obey. Number one, take stock for available resources. 2, preparation and preventive maintenance. 3, continuous proactive monitoring. 4, alert ranking and management. And then 5, threat response. 6, recovery and remediation. 7, log management. 8, root cause investigation. 9, security refinement and improvement. And 10, compliance management. And we can say all the mentioned function and capability are essential for being a trusted security operations center to fight against cyber threat on behalf of customers. So here is the right time I give you an official introduction about OneAsia. We are a group of industry experts of data center colocation services, managed cloud services, and telecom services provider in the region. Our business was established in Hong Kong with very fast growth and now well covered Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, and Thailand. As a mature managed cloud services provider, our service arm reach out various kinds of technical services: network support, cloud support, operational support, and security support. Also comes with service management, 7/24-hour NOC and SOC support, operational support, change and incident management, and also cover various kinds of regular daily operations, such like batch processing, job scheduling, automated operations, something like that. About the physical location as a data center colocation services provider, our Tier 3 standard data center had already been acquired all professional qualification, included ISO 9001, which is a quality management qualification, ISO 27001, which is an information technology security techniques, information security management system qualification, ISO 20000, which is a IT service management, ISO 14001, which is a environmental management system performance qualification. In the meanwhile, we also have both TVRA and PCI certificates, which is an essential qualification to provide colocation services to banking and finance customers. We are providing the most secure physical place and well-qualified operational procedure to serve our customer, as well as our own IT and managed cloud platform. And we are serving numbers of banking and finance customers, one of three, the largest cloud services provider, platform provider, local telecom services provider, and top-tier corporate customer inside our data center. Apart from the self-owned and built data center, OneAsia also fully acquired different types of service license. In China, in order to widen our capability to connect our customer among cities, riding on the ISP and fixed network operator licenses, OneAsia is offering IEPL, IPLC, SDN, and Express Internet to help customers to connect the world with their office in mainland China. As I said before, a trusted SOC needs a robust data center and managed cloud services experience to support its demanding responsibility to fight against cyber threats every second, every day. And you can easily find that OneAsia is perfect match, being a professional security operations center, as we've already built in every major component that we may need for being a trusted SOC. Each of our NOC staff and SOC staff were well trained from day one to provide 7/24 non-stop supporting service to our customer. We have our self-owned and built data center to host our private cloud platform. And last but not least, we've already worked long time with numbers of major public cloud services providers, like, as you see the label, Azure, AWS, GCP, that means Google Cloud, Ali Cloud, etc. Having said that, we were the first Azure Express Route nominated SI by Microsoft Hong Kong since 2014. So I can assure you that the integrated compliance solution is building on a world-class hosting platform. Okay, this is all my part. And thank you very much, thanks. And I would like to pass the time to our Pension, Andy. So let me quit first. Stop. Okay, back to you.
Yes. Yeah, can you guys see the screen right now?
Yep, all good.
We can.
Yes.
Yep, sure. So my name is Andy from LPAS Limited, the COO of the representative of today. So today,
Andy, can you maybe share the full screen? So right now we see two screens, unless you wanted to do it that way. It gets a bit small on the screen otherwise, the text. Perfect.
So this one looks better?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes, okay now.
perfect.
All right. So I'll restart my my presentation. So my name is Andy from LPAS Limited, the COO of the representative today. So today I will talk about two topics. So the first one will be about the compliance related in Hong Kong. So no matter you are subscribing on Hisense products, or no matter you are subscribing on the SOC that is related to the compliance in Hong Kong, that is majority about in Hong Kong MA. And then the second one is about our security expertise on SOC parts, that is what we are going to support in our SOC services. So that is the second part of my presentation. So let's start for now. So the compliance and risk in Hong Kong. So the cybersecurity one. So in general, if you are coming from the financial industry, so the most of you guys may be familiar with Hong Kong MA. And then if say you need to comply with and others compliance, let's say SFCs from insurance authority, or if say you need to compliance with PCI DSS, our company can help on the assessment if say you have subscribed any services or any softwares that is already provided by Hisense or OneAsia, then we can provide such assessments on their services and or environment. So I will go through like in deeper. So what are we going to provide in our services? So in Hong Kong MA, so what you are going to be compliant with, that is about the cyber resilience assessment framework. So what we call CRAF. So the version is 2.0. So there are 7 domains inside the CRF, and then the first one is the first one is governance. Governance is about your companies, how you manage things, how you manage your securities, your ITs, or maybe even your XR sometimes. So let's say doing background checks, and then it's your internal environment. So what you are going to deploy your network. So even though if you have subscribed your those like SOC services about the external environments, then there going to the domain stream. And then if say you are subscribing to those like saying softwares and then deploying into your internal networks and then performing some let's say AML or something like that. So that one will be in the scope of domain level 2, so the internal environment. So the result will become a risk matrix and then the maturity assessment. But how maturity are you in this practice, or maybe when after you have subscribed those products and then services? Is this compliance to Hong Kong MA? You may not know right now, but once we have done such activities of the assessments, then you can know like what's going on, for example, on the risk and then the technical assessments. So in Hong Kong MA, there's a governance, internal environments, and external environment I've talked just now. So those components you can see on the right-hand side of the components. So what you are going to be like saying what you're going to do. So the first one is the cyber resilience oversight. So how you treat on cyber resilience. So this is the first one. And then your strategies and policies about your company's cybersecurity objectives, for example. And then your risk management. So how will you treat risk and then your opportunities? And then of course, audits after you have such objectives, your controls, then how will you evaluate them by, of course, evaluate by audit. Especially the last one about the governance, about the staff training. The staff training, that is a very important part. I say you have already like a lots of policies and procedures. No one is knowing what's going on, then you have to provide training and stuff. So internal environment, so it's like saying like assessments on asset management in your environments, your risk results, access control, blah blah blah. So that one is quite normal in a banking area. So in our assessment, we are going to help you to identify such control that is already mature enough in your environment, especially when you have new softwares and then your new services inside your environment. And then also you can see the response and recovery. That is a very big part. So and detection in the internal environment. So in the SOC services and then and others softwares and helping you, that is about a big part on the response and recoveries. So these details will be described in our SOC tier 2 and tier 3 services. But just to let you guys know the basic concept of the Hong Kong MA. And then you can see now there's what our assessment methods of our assessment. So the first one, it will be an audit, quite like an audit-based assessment method. So if say that is about governance, about internal environments, let's say we are going to study your objectives, your security policies, and also your network equipment and network diagrams. So let's say how will you implement your softwares, how will you implement your services inside your environment. So no matter what kind of software tools you have subscribed in Hyson or the SOC services in One Asia. Yeah. And also for those components, that is not only for the documentation parts, we're also concerning about your technical ways, like how will you secure your network, your products, and your services as well. So we have different kinds of security services that is helping on let's say the pre-production before that's going live. So we could have different security services that is something like vulnerabilities assessments, configuration reviews, the infrastructure penetration tests, etc. Such vulnerability testings and security services that's helping you to know like what's your services doing, how's your products secure, before that is going into the bank environment. As far as we know, like bank is like saying a very high value on the security. So we have to do such security assessments to give you a guarantees on the security at that moment. So you have to know like this software is already like secure enough, and then I can use it for our environment. So that is an example. And then in the CRAF, that is a big domain about detections, and then there's cyber incident detection and the threat monitoring analysis. And that's why when OneAsia is introducing the SOC is helping on the detection parts. That is about like saying what kind of abnormality, saying like, for example, say somebody is trying on the administration accounts for 10,000 times, for example, then those abnormalities that is already monitored by the SOC services, then those like something like SIEM, the threat intelligence that is helping you to detect such security events and then incidents. So you know what's going on inside the networks, or maybe your firewalls, even though some systems. So what kind of security events that is happening. So what is SOC? As you have listened to OneAsia about the SOC, so you know like those 10 components about what is SOC doing, but like the SOC is designed to do what? So we are going to talk now. So the first one that is about they're collecting like those informations, logs, that is and those like logs, after we have stored those logs, and then we have to do like analysis on logs. Of course, that is not a manual process. That is an automated process. So they will generate alarms to you guys and know like what's going on inside the infrastructure, and then that will call you immediately, and you will know what's happening on the cybersecurity parts. And then the SOC is like saying the intelligence driven. So that is not only like saying I have designed a rule, so that one will help will generate an alarm and tell you, this is a security event, blah blah blah. And also those like intelligence driven can help to find out those like correlationship in between. Then you can handle those like threats like easier than in previous traditional like saying log management and stuff. So because of this advantage, creating SOC may provide significant value to organizations. So basically, just now in OneAsia that is the SOC. It says 24x7 x 365 around the clock monitoring and response solution approach. So this approach is monitoring the entire your whole network's infrastructure, no matter how big it is your company that is across the border, across the world. Then you can monitor your networks and your applications or what's going on. And then those analyses are in real time. So you won't be like saying, oh, the incident has already happened as 4 days ago. Then I have pointed out like now, for example. So it won't happen. It's saying like the 5 seconds ago it happens a security event, then you prompt out a alarm, or if say that is a serious security event or maybe an incident. So once you have the incidents, you can respond on incidents as like saying that if we have incidents, but we never respond, and then that may become a disaster. So also maybe a cyber attack that's already happening inside the network and then your infrastructure. So we have to respond like very quickly. So SOC that is helping you on responding these kind of events. And then of course the risk-free environment, of course you can know your risk like in the real time, so you can minimize your damage as many as possible. So how SOC helps? So log all the events. So that's minimum requirements of the SOC. So log all events, the coverage of scope. So as I say, if how big is your company, and then you can say, I want to monitor all of them. Of course you can, but as say I want to say, if you want to just say like monitoring your like critical assets, that's fine also. So it depends on your coverage scope. And then it's like saying like what is threat to you that is customizable. And then saying like the detailed process of how you handling threats, it's like time frames, like the turnover time, for example. So we're documenting like those performance on those like events and stuff, as we have fine-tuned those like rules, and then it's my let's say it's the intelligence, so we can understand better on the security events. And then it's like we have to like document all the events, and then the follow-up records as an aftermath. I will talk to in the tier 2, and then it's like how many like saying the last one is about the retention. So how many logs, like saying for example in Hong Kong, say 7 years for general requirements, and then for company laws that is about 10 years at least to store your logs and then your tickets. And then the host SOC is related to SIEM technology, as I said just now. So no matter you are using different log management tools, or no matter how many products you have, and then you have to inject it into the SIEM. The SIEM can help you to do this. And then you can perform such like saying like analysis on the SIEM, then we can track those like events on your entire infrastructure, and then we can add accordingly. As one Asia said just now, we have to call you and say, hey, your network has something happening inside, and then you have to have a look, and then say that is a false alarm, please let me know, blah blah blah. So such thing you can react accordingly. And then saying like SOC has achieved visibility into network activity. So you will know like how's your network doing, saying like in capacity level, in security level, and then you can manage your endpoints and assets, saying like, how come I have an additional endpoints in my network, and then say it suddenly comes out, then it's don't supposed to do. So those kinds of risks you can understand better, and then you can react accordingly. So the SOC is a detective tool that, of course, has lots of rules and sets. So those like saying those security events, incidents, you can reduce the response time, identification time. So you know the root cause like immediately, and then saying why I'm being affected by cyber attacks. So the tier 2 incident response in investigations, of course, after you have received the call from one Asia, maybe the SOCs guys call you, hey, you have incidents and stuff, and then we have experienced professionals, and then they can visit to your company and help you on the incidents, and handles like low or medium complexity incidents, and then identifies the attacks. So what kinds of attacks are going on, and then what kind of let's say endpoints or servers that is going to be infected, or let's say that is the next target, for example, and then providing you like saying technical controls to reduce the risk of further damage. And then, of course, we are not saying like after performing an incident response and then say, hey, bye-bye, that is the end. But no, we also doing the aftermaths for you guys. Let's say we should not have this kind of incidents in the future, as saying we have to implement new controls into our networks or into our application to reduce the risk of such incidents. And then the tier 3 for the digital forensics and threat hunting, that is a high experience professionals. Of course, if say that is about law and legals and stuff, then we can have the professional to help you to provide an investigation report. Then after the second tier's support, and then on those like high complexity incidents, of course, that is already like saying the damage area is very big, and then you have to find out the root cause on why, and also you do the forensics, and then saying like who is attacking me, and then I need to like saying like for legal actions and for something like that. So so our professionals can help you to perform such forensic services. Then you can know like what kind of actual root cause, and then what kind of attacks you have been experienced in the previous time. So the last one will be giving you some suggestions. So let's say, for example, you have SOC as monitored stuff already, but let's say you have an infrastructure problem, then we will give you like suggestions on that. So let's say you should have 3 tier, 4 tiers or firewalls to reduce the risk of this being attacked by the outsiders or even the hackers. So that's for now. And then if you guys have any Q&As, let's say you have any questions that you want to ask, feel free. And then I pass back to the host, and then for the Q&A session.
Great, thanks so very much for that sharing, Henry, Michael, and Andy. So it's great to hear, I guess, Henry, really the HSG is really kind of the engine behind at least 2 of the 8 virtual banks here in Hong Kong. It's kind of, you know, I kind of call it a bank in a box, right? You actually have the whole package to present to somebody who wants to create a new bank. So which is and obviously there has been takers for that, especially with Hong Kong and its virtual banking initiatives. And it's also so great to see you expanding beyond, you know, so with the Chinese base and using Chinese technology, kind of like a One Connect type model, right? And then expanding overseas, we're using those super tools. But so I was wondering, now that you've got this very interesting combination, you know, of the platform together with the hosting company and the consulting company to kind of, you know, come together. How do you see your ideal kind of customer base, right? So because I guess presumably, at least in Hong Kong, I don't think there are going to be many more new banks, if you know what I mean. So in Hong Kong, maybe certain modules, and if they're modules, which modules? But otherwise, you know, which jurisdictions look interesting, because it looks like you're making great headway in Indochina.
Okay, so thanks, Brian. Let me try to address that question. I think the 3-in-1, the whole thing, okay, at most is still application driven. Okay, the first thing before you talk about infrastructure or security is still whether the application suits my needs, right? So we are obviously we are not that targeting on tier 1 banks, to be frank, because most of them, because there are only 2 areas that we focus to sell our application. One is digital transformation. Okay, you want to do something that is trendy, right? The second thing is you start up a new bank, which is mostly today the virtual banks, right? But the virtual banks today, unfortunately, they are not doing that good, right? So, but they are still doing revamp. Okay, they are changing things, adding new offerings and all that. So we can still target on those virtual banks. For digital transformation, we are looking at tier 2, tier 3 banks. Okay, because a lot of them are just planning or starting. Okay, some do not have all those so-called FinTech or RegTech modules yet. Okay, so they could be interested. So this is just application, but with this 3-in-1, okay, we are going to tell the customer that, hey, this is the single point of contact for the end-to-end thing, right? If you select our application, if the application is proven for you, right, then you don't worry about getting infrastructure to house it, to run it. You don't worry about managed services, how many people I need to hire to run the applications overnight, run job schedules and all that, right? So you have this already certified and secure data center from OneAsia with all the certifications. So that's one issue resolved apart from the application. And then on the security side, what's the most headache of the banks today? Regulatory, MA, right? So if we come with this security assessment service, before going to production, we already give a guarantee that, okay, the thing shouldn't be going like 10 miles apart, okay? We will be 90%, 95% fitting the regulatory requirements. And then as the Michael and Andy talk about the SOC. SOC is a headache, today, because a lot of banks are doing SOC, but the problem is they do not have the justification to host or house those expert security. Is so difficult to find in the market these days. Okay, so with this 3-in-1, we are seeing that when you come to a tier 2, tier 3 alert, we actually have professional securities to come in and help you resolve and analyze the problem. Okay, so having the application for digital transformation plus this 3-in-1 construct, okay, we are hoping that we can have some breakthrough in the market.
Great, thanks so much for that, Henry. And I think yes, that does make a lot of sense, because so it ends up being a one-stop shop, right? So they've got a module, but it comes and what I found interesting was having previously hosted similar panels with cloud companies, right? So they're trying to address that issue because a lot of people want to go on cloud, but they are but of course the regulators have particular concerns about that, as do the traditional professionals within the financial institutions. So they need the experts to come in to kind of bless that. But that is, that's for some that can be almost a step too far. So maybe over to you, Michael. So I think part of your solution. Go ahead.
Can I supplement that, Ryan?
Please.
This is actually one of our strengths, because in Hong Kong, a lot of the banks are willing to go to cloud, right? At most private cloud. Okay, yes. But OneAsia can do both on-prem and cloud, in private cloud. So if a customer decides that some of the applications he may want to put it to private cloud, OneAsia has that capability. We can put in Atlassian, which can give very consultative recommendations on how you would pass MA to put that application onto a cloud. Right, so this is another strength that we hope this 3-in-1 can support.
Yes, no, not at all, because it was actually exactly that point that I found quite interesting, because a lot of banks, actually the cloud bit is actually too difficult for them, right? So you're actually giving them the assurance that can happen. So Michael, I mean, again, your data centers, you're quite established in that space and you're growing more. So maybe speak a little bit to the existing data centers you have here in Hong Kong, and then also I think you've got some building in the midst as well, because again, it's linked to that market point, the ideal kind of customer and where they want to grow.
In terms of our data center service coverage, of course, as I said it before, we are providing services not only in Hong Kong. In fact, we have 3 centers built in Hong Kong from Taiwan, Kowloon Bay, and Lai Chi Kwok. We have 3 centers built in Hong Kong right this moment. And also we have another larger size of data center built in Shanghai. And we also have a data center campus built in Nantong, which is a north place where it's around 1.5 traveling time of Shanghai, which is one of the major data center campus built by the Chinese government. And also, apart from all those existing data centers, we are also building our own data center in Guangzhou, Japan, Thailand, South Korea, as well as in Singapore. Okay, so this is our service coverage. As Henry mentioned, that the beauty of the solution is that we are not only provide managed cloud services, but the customer can choose rather they would like to have a physical IT equipment hosted from our data center. They are welcome to do that because we have quite a lot of resources. No matter they located in Hong Kong or anywhere from the Asian Asian city, as I said it before. And also for some others city, if we don't have a direct center built over there, we also have a lot of service partner. We can provide the connection and selection choices to our customer. So this is our strength and our advantage to provide a physical place to host the application on behalf of those banking customers. And which is a very secure place, of course.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Thanks, Michael. So maybe, I wanted to open it up to the floor. Does anybody have any particular questions for the panelists? Otherwise, I might pose maybe one other question to you all. Oh, there is a question for Alpacian from George regarding your, George, you're here. You want to read it out, or would you like me to read it out? Either way works.
I can read that out. It's fine. So I got a question about your incident response capability. So let's say if I get hit by a ransomware attack, I go to a place that I have no choice, I have to pay. So do you provide any like ransomware responding extortion negotiation? Like if I need to pay the ransomware, so is there any like service that you can provide to that?
Actually, in a security perspective, we do not recommend our clients that is paying for the ransomwares. I know choices on that, but in general, what we are going to suggest that is saying like we suggest on preventive action, saying like we have multiples of backups that is already in your environment, so you can have restore your data better on regarding better than that you pay for those ransomware. As say, if I'm the victims and then saying like I have paid once, and then I didn't do anything at all after that, and then the ransomware will come back in later time. So so the first thing that is about like the preventive actions on the backups, like offline backups, as for examples, and then saying how to enhance your securities for better situations. So that is the preventive actions more than like saying like to pay on the ransomware.
Thanks for that, and thanks, George. And I almost wonder whether to ask you whether you've been recipient of those requests, which is why it's a live question. George, you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No, it's okay, because we have clients that got hit by ransomware attack, and they don't have backup at the end of the day, and they really need the data back, so they have no choice but to pay, which is not something that we encourage people to do. But at the end of the day, you really need the data back. You got, it's a ransom. So basically, they kidnap your data. You don't pay, you're not going to see your data back. So at the end of the day, they decide to pay. So, but yeah, just wondering, would there be like any services like that, to provide like facilitation on those payments, because they just pay through like Bitcoins and stuff like that. So yeah, just a question. So yeah, thank you for your answer. Yeah, Andy, that's a very good answer. So yeah, we don't encourage people to pay to the but sometimes when you have no choice, you have to pay, right?
Yeah, but that is the last resort, as I always say. Yeah.
Of course. Thank you for your answer.
Yeah, thank you for your
question,
questions.
Michael. So normally with SOCs, do you do pen testing? Is that part of the package as well, or does that normally get a third party to do pen testing?
You mean on the SOC parts, the pen test on SOC?
Yeah.
Okay, I will elaborate like this. Actually, if say you are going to doing the penetration testing on the SOC, of course we can. And then the penetration testing is around the structures of the SOC. So how will it view on the SOC? Saying like if your SOC is like without any security controls, and then without any regularities. So let's say, for example, in one area they have 2701, but no one is left, but no one is following such standards. Then that makes no sense, right? Then in the penetration testing, that is helping on the saying like how the security performed in the SOC environment. So once you got those like reports and saying like to, let's say, for example, like Josh is just now asking questions on those, like say security related, then saying is the SOC safe enough to protect our logs, and then our saying that our incident records. So that will be a great evidence for them to notify, say, this SOC is a great great service to provide and secure enough. Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. Well, we're only almost on the hour. Any last questions? Otherwise, I'm sure people are hungry and trying to get home if you're actually working not from home, right? And away from the cold. Once again, Henry, Michael, Andy, thank you very much for sharing. Oh, there was one last question here from Raymond. Would like to hear more live cases how HSG's compliance solution addresses bank pain points. Maybe Henry, a minute or two about that.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear clearly.
Sure. So Raymond has asked the question. Unless Raymond, you want to read it out loud yourself? Would like to hear more. Go ahead, please, Raymond.
Yeah. Sure. So what I would like to know is how does HSG's compliance solution to address virtual banks' concern and pain points? That is my questions. Yeah.
How would our solution address virtual bank control pain points? Actually, we are the developer, right? So obviously, the solution as is, basically, we come with a series of controls, security, that kind of thing already embedded, okay? But we won't say, or we can say this is adequate or this is not adequate, right? So we come as it is, okay? There are a lot of parameter trimming, parameter tuning that we can work with the customer to enforce some threshold. But having done that still, okay, whether it meets the regulatory requirement or the MA requirements in certain transaction kind of flow, that's why we are, bringing in Alpecian, okay, as a security or compliance part, to tell us, when the whole thing come together involving application infrastructure together, whether we are close to meeting MA requirements, we are far off, and then that means there are still a lot of enhancement or modifications that needs to make. Okay, this is the general idea. Of course, we as an application developer, we would think, our stuff is okay, to pass all compliance. But again, that has to go through the tests and the MA endorsement before we can say that. But obviously, we've done 2 virtual banks now in Hong Kong, so I think we are not too far apart from meeting the regulatory requirements. Yeah.
Henry, I think it may be a little bit too modest there. So perhaps maybe what Raymond was asking, I'll rephrase it slightly differently. So maybe you can show your slide again relating to your more popular RegTech solutions. Right, so are there particular modules, for example, that are quite popular with compliance departments that solve some of particular RegTech solutions that are a little bit different from some of the competitors? I think
okay,
so that'll be helpful. Yeah.
Let me share my screen.
Because Raymond, when I first heard about Henry and what their platform was and how big it was, I was like, wow, it's a bank in a box, right? So from a compliance point of view, so in some ways, it covers so many different areas, but from compliance RegTech point of view, there are certain aspects that some of us might focus a little bit more on that might find a little bit more interesting. So yeah, great. I think that's it. Go, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, that's great.
Perfect.
Okay, so if you look at the customer 360 thing, okay, there are a lot of functional modules that we have developed and deployed in recent years with a lot of RegTech flavor. Okay, we do have an AML module, okay, which can do all sorts of scenario scripting, identifying and then reporting the different incidents that is hitting the scenario. We have CRM, we have eKYC. We have a very strong facial recognition and OCR system. Okay, actually, this system has been working for the Thailand ID card. Okay, so we have fraud detection, regardless fraud detection from a credit card perspective, from an internal phishing perspective. Okay, all that. Okay, we have fraud detection modules to cover, and then we have device fingerprint module. Okay, meaning that if somebody stole your password or your bank ID and use it in another phone to try to log in, we would the module would be able to identify that that's not the ordinary mobile that is doing these kind of login with this password before. So we have all these being implemented in Sino modules. Okay, so when I say we do have a RegTech favor and we can actually cherry pick some of these modules. This is what I meant. Okay, some of the banks or some of the financial institutes or even some of the insurance companies, they may be interested in one or two of these modules rather than the entire product suite as a whole. So we are focusing on that. People can come to us and say, okay, I want a fraud detection platform that is secure and safe. Tell me what you've got. Okay, so I think this is our favor in terms of RegTech, FinTech, and compliance. I hope I answered your question.
May I ask a little bit more? For example, for eKYC modules, how do we actually address virtual banks' concern in this area, like from HSG?
We actually has got a deck, okay, that actually introduced the entire eKYC workflow, okay, from the start, from registering a customer, keeping his ID, keeping his face, and all that, and then logging on and all that. Raymond, right? If you don't mind, okay, why don't you leave us a contact? I will surely, get my colleagues to come back to you and actually show you in a separate session as to how our eKYC module works, because that's quite it's a deck. Okay, it's quite lengthy rather than I can cover it in 2 or 3 minutes right now.
Absolutely, it will be really helpful. Thank you very much.
So Brian, is there a approach that we can get Raymond's contact and then we get back to him on eKYC?
Sure. So Raymond, maybe you can send your either through the chat or directly to Henry here, or if you want to send it over to Justin or myself, we'll ensure that we send it over to Henry.
Yeah, I could email over later on.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Raymond, for the question.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, again.
Thank you very much.
So look, I'm glad we had some good audience interaction here. Thanks for your questions, George and Raymond, and thanks so very much for your sharings, Henry, Michael, and Andy. Have a safe night, everybody. Look forward. Maybe Henry, next round you have to talk about eKYC, and right.
Okay.
So obviously, there's interest there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks so much, everyone. Stay safe and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.